A federal judge in Texas has ruled the Trump administration cannot rely on the Alien Enemies Act to detain and deport Venezuelan migrants alleged to be gang members. The ruling says the administration's use of the 18th century law exceeds its scope, but the government can rely on another law. It's the Immigration and Nationality Act to remove those who engage in criminal activity.
Well, it has definitely more of an impact on those currently in detention. As we know, the administration tried to deport more people more Venezuelans to El Salvador just in the last 2 weeks before they got an emergency halt from the Supreme Court. But this is the first time any federal judge has weighed in on whether or not Trump can actually rely on this authority at all. This is a pretty significant ruling, and it's one that we can expect to be appealed by the government and make its way up to the Supreme Court. Previously, everything you've heard, all the rulings about this have just dealt with whether or not Trump could do that in that moment or whether or not those people needed to be returned. This is whether or not he can use the Alien Enemies Act to justify that there's in fact an invasion happening inside this country, designate Venezuelans and people from El Salvador as part of this gang and deport them without any due process. What this judge is saying is you have a process to deport these people. It's called the Immigration and Nationality Act, and it requires that they have due process, that they can go before an immigration judge to determine whether or not they can stay in the United States, and they could go before a criminal court to decide whether or not they've actually been charged with criminality. He's saying that he is usurping that process, and that is a Trump-appointed judge saying that. So it's definitely a real blow to this policy that the Trump administration, Alex, has really grown to lean on, not just because they are able to, get more numbers out. So far, just a little over 230 people have they deported under this, but really because it's become the flashpoint of the argument over deportation in this country. And they're able to point to it and say, this is what we're trying to do. And these justices and anyone who's against us doesn't want these criminals out. To have a Trump-appointed judge saying this isn't the right way to do it and you're violating due process is a real blow to that argument.